Orleans.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Did you one of the guys who went there
that's
too?
fun.
There's a ton.
So much blue.
There was so much blue.
Really?
I heard.
The cheers were Lions related. There was no Saints cheers to be heard.
Wow.
It was wild.
You watched the game last night?
I didn't.
That was unbelievable.
Who was that last night?
Philly and Seattle.
What happened?
Seattle gets the ball with a minute 45 to go, one timeout. They go all the way down the field with 24 seconds left and didn't use their timeout, scored a touchdown.
Oh,
Oh man.
Yes.
okay.
Anyway, sorry.
That's all right. We're ready when you are.
All right, call the meeting to order. And first on the agenda is any additions or corrections to the agenda that was sent out?
I don't have any.
Okay, so you want to accept the agenda? We need to make a motion.
I move that we accept the agenda.
Support.
Supported by Chris. Any opposed, or excuse me, any discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Public comments? Correspondence?
Approval of minutes, sorry.
Oh, did I move that past it? I'm sorry. I thought it was that.
I'm sorry, it stapled that portion all
No,
together.
no, it was mine.
Yeah,
It was me. Approval of the minutes of the meeting from the 21st. I should have received those in a pre-read as well. I thought you captured everything well, so I'll make a motion. Can I make a motion?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We accept the minutes from the November 21st.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we'll go to the public comments. I don't see any public comments on the Zoom. Anybody here? No? All right.
It did have correspondence.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I just wanted to submit the correspondence on our annual discharge permit, the fee increase.
Yeah.
So it's right behind your agenda outlining that, it's almost basically doubled. Went from $3,650 to $7,500. That's just the state increasing their rates.
We don't fit into group 2,
Right.
under 1,000.
I have to find out. We've always been in group 1.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly sure what the reason is, but
There's a huge difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, who do you count?
so it's village and part of the township, but I
Right,
doubt
okay.
that we're still at 1,000. So
Because if it was the 2 combined, it would be a no for sure.
Right.
We're well over that.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
don't know if it was
Well, it shouldn't be the whole township, just
the
the.
sewer
Just-
assessment district.
Yeah.
Or the SAD would still be exceed that. So.
I can talk to
What is-
the Justin. You probably may or may not have information on the annual permit fee. I could talk to Mark and get an answer. Okay.
Mark would have it.
Mark would have it. Okay.
Is
Once I get that, I'll email you.
Okay, is it households or population?
On here, it's based on 1,000 or fewer residents, says.
So resident, would a resident be the people in the resident or the address?
And what type of residents?
Yeah.
Because we'd have less than
Yeah.
1,000.
We got lots of different types.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'll get an answer for
Right.
you. Okay.
Thank you.
Save us a little money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Right, so that closes our public comments, correspondence. Payment of the bills, those are, you received those in a pre-read as well. Thank you.
There's the bill sheet in here.
Yep, it's at the
Okay.
back.
Got it, I see it.
It's at the
Yeah.
back, sorry. It kind of stapled the clerk's report together.
Total 87,284.
55.
Okay, it's good, yeah.
Those pumps, we did get them.
Yeah, those are our backup pump for the
Okay.
main lift station and then our pumps for the 7th Street, is my
Okay.
understanding.
Are those the ones we ordered a while back because we knew they were gonna take a long time?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's been a long time.
I would move that we pay the bills, pay the bill, in the order of $87,284.55.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Do you have to?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry, thanks. I'll get this thing down, actually. Roll call, Chris Hilton,
Yes.
Chris McCann,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mike McMillan, yes. So staff reports, I'll start with the clerk's report.
So in addition to what I provided you in the packet, I did print off this morning a trial balance through the month of November. So what I provided for the board is a cash transaction, which is going to be limited value report here for the board because that will, in next month, Denise will be providing you with the report, and you'll want to align the cash report that I have here with her report. So the cash transaction report has been provided, trial balance through the month of November, and then a revenue expenditure report. And I could briefly maybe some questions regarding the revenue expenditure report.
I just had a couple on my own. Under the header, could you just put our fiscal year, so at the start of our fiscal year and the end of it, so if anybody from the outside looking at it, you might think it might assume it's a calendar year and see how the percentages are.
Yeah, it does actually tell you this is from March 1st through November 30th, right there, at the top of the revenue expenditure
This is for
report.
the period 3/1/23.
Yeah,
I didn't see that last night, I apologize.
that's okay,
Small print.
yeah.
Okay, all right, never mind,
So it says this is from March to
okay.
the end of November.
Just a couple more FYI than anything else for myself. Line 800, the contract services, that's over, that's because of the Lund study, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
We will have to amend our budget.
okay. And then 801, legal services, again, that's the opinion that we received this past summer.
Yes, we've exceeded our budget.
Okay, and then 960, insurance and bonds, it didn't look like we had anything hitting that, did it?
We do, we had just over 13,000, 13,308.
Okay.
And our insurance has gone up. After our workman's comp audit, it's based on salaries, they did a little adjustment there. And then our insurance itself has gone up. We've had quite a few claims, so between that and just sure inflation increasing the values of our assets, the insurance has gone up overall.
Who's covered on workman's comp?
Workman's comp is the employees, so would be all for the employees. But our insurance provides bonds, I'm sorry.
Just my dumb question is, what is our fiscal year?
March through February, and so this year we have a leap year, so February 29th.
So I guess I have another question. Is this the last of the capital expenditure we're gonna see for the year, or are there more coming?
According to what we've scheduled, this is the last.
Okay.
But, there could be some unforeseen
Sure.
in the next 2 months.
So anything planned is in done, but
This is the last planned expenditure.
Keyword plan.
And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get down to the budget,
Mhm.
so, because we'll have some conversations about the utility financial solutions report.
okay. Anything else for the clerk? Ms. Sherman? No. Right, so the treasurer's report, I'll just ad-lib a little bit. Denise Dunn, who's here today, and Joni and I and Jim Dyer met last week to align on the duties, the formalities, the exchange of the bank account information, those type of things. Very good, very constructive, positive go forward meeting. So I don't know if you want to add anything to it or.
Just as the board had discussed, I will be taking deposits down to Denise with a report. She will reconcile that, deposit it into the bank, and then we'll be working on, she'll provide a separate report that should align with the cash report. That's, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Superintendent's report.
We don't have a lot to report on that, just actually some impromptu visuals on some of the manholes. Again, kind of monitoring North Shore, and everything seems to be in good order there. We have a couple new connections going to be coming online probably in the next, I would say, depending on the weather, but probably up to the first of the year. So that's about all I have. Rest will give it to Justin.
So during the month of November, and this is outlined in the monthly report, but we completed the monitoring well sampling. As you guys are aware, monitoring well 7S had some vandalism occur a little while back. That is now reinstated. We have a new well, it is 7S2. We were able to sample that within the same cycle as the rest of them. So we're back on track with that. We did our annual basin clean, solids basin. We got that done last week, so you'll see that that's projected in upcoming activities, but that is now completed as of last.
Only one of them works.
Other than that, monitoring well and the cleaning, that's everything Jacob says.
That went all right up there.
Everything went very
The
smooth.
basin down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
The move to the discussion potential action items, the audit proposal. So I reported last month that we didn't have any takers. Since that time, we've had 2 people show interest in our business. So a company, actually 2 companies are based out of Cadillac. We've gotten 1 proposal from one. We should receive the other proposal this week. They also have a branch in Traverse City. The latter, the one that, I don't have the name in front of me, the one that we have Jim Dyer actually suggested we talk to them. And they do over 400 municipalities in Michigan. So they got a lot of experience with it. So I think from the first bid we got, Joni indicated to me that it was well within line. So we didn't see any real inflationary impact of going with the new audit service. So once we get the other one, I think that might be sufficient to have competing bids versus going through the RFP process. So we should have that in your guys' hands as soon as you receive them. The Leland Township Board approval of the NLTUA rate recommendation. Well, it wasn't approved, as you guys read or got my emails. That went down 1 to 4. Since that time, we've had some discussion both here at the office with Joni, as well as talking to, trying to get a legal opinion. And it's the opinion of the board that NLTUA can't control the rates through O&M. And so there's a little bit of confusion on that. Part of the confusion was on my part of having us pass or put the resolution in front of the township. I understand why the village did it, because the village was requesting a $190,000 loan from the village. And we thought we were just being good neighbors and putting it in front of the township. Fortunately or unfortunately, the vote by the township board at this point right now would look ceremonial, for lack of better terms. Understanding that O&M rates are the purview of the NLTUA. So, any discussion on that? I know it came a little bit of surprise to everybody, including myself, but Am I capturing it properly?
Yeah, if I may just add to the discussion, I did have, after the email was sent out, the NLTUA's attorney, Tom Greer, did contact me to make it clear what the board was looking for, and it is, we want to, for him to be looking at just the operations and maintenance and the function of the NLTUA board. Prior to that, the village and the township, we did have a memorandum and some pretty lengthy discussions regarding the connection fee rate and the REU table itself. So,
That seemed to be the opinion this past summer, which then could have been confused with rate setting. So that the opinion that came out this summer specific to the project up by the golf course is that both the village and the township had the right to set hookup rates or accept whatever rate that was being proposed. Is that my understanding? Yeah, so the confusion was that we had that opinion because last year when we had the 45% increase, there was no approval by the township or the village.
that's correct.
So we're well within our rights on the precedence of the last rate increase rates as we suggested with the 8% for the next 4 years. Chris?
So I did print off our rules and regulations, Article 7, sewer rates, talk about establishment of cost of service. The purpose of the sewer rates, which includes charges and fees, all of which are treated interchangeably in these rules and regulations, is to provide sufficient revenues each year to pay the cost of service. Authority shall develop the cost of services based on a 5-year projections of cash needs, adjusted for inflation, and shall base rates each year on the estimated needs for those 5-year periods adjusted annually. That's in section 7.1b, and then it goes on in section 7.3, letter C talks about the monthly commodity charge. We used to charge monthly for the sewer, now we do it quarterly. That was to reduce some fees and billing. And then the annual audit in section 7.4 talks about having an audit to help us, I could read it word for word, but basically make sure that our rate projections are being followed and we're staying on course. So that's in our rules and regulations. And then in our, this was articles of incorporation, talk about how we're supposed to supply the municipalities with a budget 60 days prior to the proposal. But it does say the budget is adopted by the authority board. No budget shall be adopted unless approved by at least a simple majority of the members of the authority board. So we do have some stuff there, I think, that, outlines what our duties are in terms of the sewer rates and the budget. So we can wait to hear back from Tom, but I think that sort of covers, I think, the question of who's supposed to set it and whose charge is that, and it looks like ours.
Yeah, and again, I just wanted to clear the air why we put it to a vote with the township. And part was, I thought it was going to pass. It's more or less a good neighbor to support what's obviously critical to the village and the township. So we'll deal with that on our own, but it looks like the rate should be increased by us.
And as soon as I have anything, I'll pass it on to the board.
Okay.
He may respond to the entire board, so.
Okay. From that standpoint, do we need to take any action? Because I thought our November discussion was to formulate the resolution at the village, for the village and the township. But we never really adopted.
That was one of my questions. Did we ever vote on accepting scenario 1, or just
Yes.
in the minutes it did say that
Yeah.
through like unanimous consent, I think, was that we were,
Yes, you
Okay.
voted to.
Okay, so by sending it to the village and the township, we approved that proposal.
And when we get to the budget, did you use the new rate in the budget? Yeah, so that's where the rate will really
Okay,
take effect.
all right. Any other discussion? I kind of carried it over. I appreciate Chris finding the documentation on that.
It was on the website, easily accessible.
No other discussion? All right. introduce Denise Dunn, who will be taking on the responsibility as deputy treasurer for NLTUA. Do you have any speeches or anything?
That's what for the board, township board.
What's that nominated, I won't accept if I, the draft budget, do you want to move to the draft budget then, Johnny? We're good for that?
So, as I mentioned earlier in drafting the budget, it was somewhat difficult, and that's why I emphasized that, it is draft. The difficulties lie within our, understanding if we are going forward with the 8%, which I think we're pretty clear on that, so that, as the board just mentioned, we'll move forward as if we're adopting an 8% increase on the operations and maintenance fees. And I provided the board with the utility financial solutions report again, because in looking at the report, and let me get to the page here with scenario 1 that was just adopted. So if you go to page 8 on the utility financial solutions report, it starts there with the fiscal year 2024. So that's the current year that we're in. And the loan has been approved from the village. And looking at the capital expenses and the items that she's outlined, we have completed everything in what is projected for our 2024 budget, except for the force main cleaning from the main lift station to the treatment plant. That was estimated at $107,000. Okay. So what that tells me, as I was working through this budget, is that on page 2 of our budget here, draft budget, I put in place the village loan because I wasn't sure when that would come into place. However, Dawn One has captured it in the current year because we will need some of those funds for this year. So 190 less the 107, so we're looking at $83,000 that we'll need to carry us over in our current budget. Do you follow me on that?
Yep.
Okay. So that is something that I will adjust, but the loan has been approved. Okay.
So the 190 will be 83,000 or 190 minus 83,000?
The way that I look at it, it'll be 83 that will come in for this current year, and I'll plug in the 107 for the following year.
Okay.
190 minus 107.
Yeah, we're gonna need the funds, so I'll make the change in the revenues. So,
Just for clarification on the force cleaning, will that occur this year or that will be next year?
Probably looking at next year, 2024,
Okay,
or, it's not
this year.
calendar year, but.
It's not gonna, I would assume it's not gonna be in this calendar year, that's why I placed it in
Right.
our next fiscal year, which will be spring or fall, however they decide.
Yeah, because we got some questions, right?
So, so let's just walk through the budget and then we'll go back to those CIP, the CIP questions. So on page 2, we capture the, actually, there's gotta be, page 1 is the draft, I just wanna make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so revenues for the NLTUA are gonna be our loan from the village, $107,000. Hookup and application fees, estimating $600. That's equivalent to 3 connections. The permit is $200. Our operations and maintenance fees, when I align them with the utility financial solutions report, as far as what's projected for our revenues, with the 8% increase is $677,684. Sorry, you can share. I didn't have time to print out so many. Okay. Late charges and penalties, $5,200. And then system damage cost recovery, if we have to bill anyone for charges, call outs, our call out policy typically says for grinder pumps, you know, they get a free pass, and then, you know, a free pass as in, you know, you're gonna expect to see grease and buildup in the grinder pumps is my understanding. And so, you know, if that happens on a continuous basis within the year, then we look at that and I, as the clerk, charge the homeowner. If it goes unpaid, it will go on their utility bill and then be placed as a lien on their home, potentially if it goes unpaid from there, because it gets collected with the taxes.
We have frequent, to interrupt, and just, we have, you know, frequent visits to some particular places, so.
Okay. So I did capture just some assumptions down there. The NLTUA board has approved, you know, the operations and maintenance. It's just information for the public to go over, outlining that 8% increase. So we're going from $256 a quarter to $276.48, and that's per the rate study that was completed. Again, our hookup and application fee is $200. And that was increased from $100 last year so it doubled. We were charging $100, we increased it to $200. Okay.
So the proposed budget, Joni,
Is everybody else's?
I was looking at
Is
different,
everybody else's missing page 3?
Yep.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, go to
sorry.
2 to
Let me
4.
go and get it. I know what page 3 outlines what the,
I don't have page 5 either.
Yep,
Must have printed it
exactly.
only.
oh, I wonder if it did double-sided and I just didn't capture it. Okay,
Yeah.
hold on
looking the
one
backside.
moment. That could have been, it did a double-sider and I just printed one side. Hold on.
Well, I couldn't get my printer to work at all this morning, so
Oh,
you're ahead of me.
I have the same problem, AirPrint and just will not connect, you know, I don't know. We had that little blip yesterday, the emails, internet was wacky yesterday morning early.
it seems slow for a little
I'm sure it
while.
was.
Mine was cutting in and out, I mean, and it's like, it was internal, so shut everything down. But had trouble
I
connecting.
know they had some power lines down north of Leland by Trillium Lane there.
That happened right behind us, we took one of our trucks to Vans,
Yeah.
tires put on, and a friend of mine was behind, and I mean, it missed us by like 2 minutes.
The picture I saw had a bunch of smoke. in the
Yeah,
background.
yep. We went back over, you can see the grass is all burnt.
and Jolisa said on the other side towards Almena,
Town.
Shelbytown.
Yeah.
the trees
I drove
are-
right by it.
Yeah.
And come down and a tree burst into flames.
That's what she saw too, yeah.
I was actually surprised the power didn't go out more.
It flickered for a
It's
second.
flickering, that's all I saw.
Well,
Yeah, if it didn't come down yesterday. It's
Yeah.
good.
I don't know if anybody monitors the buoy of, as the wind speed, so. You know,
Oh, yeah.
So I saw one gust at 44 knots, so we're figuring out if it's not.
Yeah. I think it's one of my saved tabs.
Yeah,
Something
go that over.
reload it, yeah.
And we had a constant 30 miles an hour go off the lake. It's like 24 hours or so.
Consistently.
Any surfers? See any surfers out there?
Um,
I know they go down to Gill's Pier once in a while.
You know,
Somebody
it
posted,
was coming over the break wall like it was a speed bump. So it was rolling.
somebody posted one yesterday, 2 or 3 guys out there surfing. The way, I mean, the way the picture showed it, they had a guy standing in the water and the waves coming up behind him were a good 3 feet high. Yeah. Campbell, you know any good jokes?
No,
We could take the Zoom off.
Go offline.
Go offline.
Yeah.
Take the PG out.
I was talking to Gary Frederickson the other day. You're a former skateboarder.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I did not see that coming.
Did see it coming?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No, Gary was, because I was complimenting Gary on, what he did at Raymond Hill and why
Yeah.
he did it.
Oh,
And I don't know
yeah.
how his name came up, but he said.
Well, we
yeah.
built that. My father and I built the skate park that's there now.
Oh, you
We
did?
volunteered and did that back then.
Oh, okay, that's how it came
Did you do
up.
the rink as well?
Yeah, we missed
Yeah, the whole
page
rink
one
area.
too.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
was, yeah. So I mean, way back.
I know Gary was taking care of it.
Yeah, all we did is basically just shape
Shape
the
it,
land
yeah.
and
Okay, thank you.
put the tree out. We
Yeah.
all looked for
Yeah,
help.
you have to tell them about Paul Fisher riding the skateboard.
That's
down
what,
the hill.
because it's the original on one side, yeah.
I was just trying to-
you ask Chris?
I used to live right next
You're like, I'm
door.
fine.
In this house right here, Carl. And we had the first half pipe. We come off the deck and we had a half pipe right there. So, when I lived there, so, yeah. Back when I used to bounce and stuff.
It was like one of those game shows, you stand up 4 or 5 people and say, okay, former skateboarders, you would not be in that lineup.
I used to have balance.
No, I didn't see
We-
that. I
We
didn't see
skated, competitively for Bogey.
Wow.
All right, I apologize.
No, you're good.
Our story time.
Denise had the original, so she had the double sided.
Ah.
So that's what happened, I just
Okay.
scanned one side, so I apologize.
No, we're good. You guys
We'll
are
go
great.
back to page 1 on the
Okay.
budget, because we didn't really capture that, we went to page 2.
Oh,
And,
gotcha.
When
you said page 1 earlier, I thought you meant the cover sheet.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what I thought.
that's why I was
So did I.
confused. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, so. All right, so page 1 does cover the debt service collected on behalf of the village and the township. It's projected for the year. So that's $30,832 for the township and $179,568 for the village. And then I just capture what the debt service is in the village and the township, because it is different. So in the village, going forward for the next fiscal year, it's $86 per quarter, and in the township, it's $82 a quarter. And I just capture or highlight that the final bond payment will be completed in the spring of 2028. Okay. So we can pass page 2, because we did cover the revenues. Okay. Going to page 3, this outlines expenditures for administration. So this is your office staff, your clerk, your treasurer, and your superintendent. This budget is the same. I did capture, so for salaries, $32,000. Then we go through the employer's Social Security and Medicare. Workman's comp, I adjusted that to account for the adjustment this year. It's up just under $300, so it was around $550. Now it's up to $900. Is our workman's comp. Office supplies, $350. Operating supplies, $800. Postage is expensive, $2,000. Well, it's to mail.
What's this
Bulk
thing?
mailing now, I think
I have no
is
idea.
almost 50, it's 50 cents.
50,
right around
almost
there.
55 cents, I
Yeah.
thought. 56.
Okay, contractual services, $4,700. And our legal services, $2,000. We may or may not need to adjust that. I don't know. We don't intend to call legal services, but it can happen. So the board may want to consider adjusting that.
Can you call MTA at the village or no?
We have a village.
You have a village site?
Yeah.
Okay, for legal opinion? Okay.
Yeah.
You have free legal.
What is it? Oh, municipal, you're thinking of,
Michigan Township Association.
There's an MTA also.
yes, yeah.
You're not gonna get in-depth opinion from them, but you'll get good advice. I know all those people, for years, so.
Thanks.
CPA services, I've captured for the audit this year that we'll have to have, so $8,000. I'm going to come back to contractual services. We outline and capture what that is for on the final page. So loan payment with 2% interest, $78,540. That's straight from the rate study from Dawn 1. Education and training, we put that in there just in case the board has a class that they'd like to take. Mileage, $100, printing and publishing, $500, insurance and bonds, $14,600. So the total there for expenditures under administration is $147,188. And then I just outlined what that loan is about. So I capture at the bottom of page 3 that the loan with the 2% interest to the village is a total of $325,050.25. The first loan was for the North Shore collection system. It was the repairs to that main that we did this spring in the amount of $135,050.25. And that the remaining balance on that loan is for the $190,000 for the CIP support. So just so that you understand what the loan total was and our payment. We'll move to page 4. And again, like I said, when we get to contractual services, we're going to capture some details on that on page 5, so we'll go through that. Operating supplies for the treatment plant is estimated at $4,000, a budget of $4,500 and $10,000 in the collection system. I do capture what we purchased for our operating supplies: ferric chloride in the treatment plant, calcium nitrate for the collection system, and that's for odor control, and then carbon, and we have carbon filters that go on some homes in our gravity system, and so unfortunately calcium nitrate has gone up in cost like everything else, so $10,000 is the budget this year. Utilities gas at the treatment plant is $150, collections is $450. We do have a generator at our treatment plant and in our collection system, and so we have these connected to natural gas, so we can capture expense for that. Our water expenses for our treatment plant is $1,500. It's connected to municipal water, and the Village of Northport bills accordingly for usage of water for the treatment plant. Telephone and internet, $3,000 for the treatment plant and $2,700 for the collection system. That is for our dialers on our lift stations. They have to call out. We have 2 at the treatment plant and then 3 in our collection system. And thank goodness we are in a better rate than we used to be, because AT&T years ago, we had a long battle on our hands and we're paying an extraordinary, exuberant amount, so gotten that cost down. Our electric for the treatment plant, I did adjust this because it looks like we're gonna come in very close, so I adjusted it for the future, for the next fiscal year. So at the treatment plant, it's $62,000. Collection system is $13,000. We do pay still at the treatment plant bills to Consumers Energy and Leelanau Community Energy. Although there is not a wind turbine there anymore, there are solar, there's solar energy, and that gets billed to us and expensed through these accounts. Contractual services, $190,132 in the treatment plant and $21,000 in the collection system. Again, I'll go over what those budgets are for and what we're going to be capturing. Capital improvement projects in the treatment plant is $45,500 scheduled expense, and then collection system $194,597. And then we have permits, which I adjusted accordingly to this current rate, but if we get better news, we can adjust it down, but I captured an expense of $7,500. All right, we'll move to page 5. So at the top of page 5 is where I like to capture those expenses for the contractual services. So in the administration page, on the administration page, page 3, we have a contractual service expense of $4,700. This is for our Tyler Technologies fund balance. So we have an annual payment that we have for support, updates, anything we need. So that is the cost for the computer system support. For our treatment plant, we have generator maintenance, mowing and snow removal only if as needed. So that's $1,500. And then our operations and maintenance, that is our budget with Jacobs. And I do capture what those expenses are, but that is in the amount of $186,132. And it is $15,000 in the collection system. Let's see. Oh, and wastewater, collection system repairs, we have of $5,000. We can go down and I kind of capture what those expenses are again for you. So under the treatment plant, what makes up that $186,132 is our agreement for the next fiscal year with Jacobs. And I do go by OMI, which is their original name, because that is who we are contracted. That's who our agreement is. OMI was the name of the company, was bought out by Jacobs.
CM2 film.
Yeah,
CH2.
yeah. And
I
so,
work for both.
yeah, so I continue to write OMI, and you'll see that because that's who our agreement is through, but it is Jacobs. So our annual agreement with them is $179,432. That's $14,952.67 a month. Okay. Additional repairs outlined in the expense repairs report, which I did provide the board. It's in your packet today, which they anticipate of $10,700. And what they're going to purchase for that $10,700. Oh, it was with your original budget that didn't have all the pages, so it looks like this. But I just captured what the expenses are. They anticipate purchasing a reject pump for $1,700, conduit replacement on the fine screen unit for $3,000, treatment plant repairs of $2,000, and generator maintenance, as I mentioned, $2,500, and snow removal at $1,500 if needed. In the collection system, we have scheduled additional repairs outlined in the estimated repairs budget from Jacobs is $6,000. That is conduit replacement at the 7th Street lift station for $5,000, and of course the generator maintenance for $1,000. And with our contract for Jacobs, as captured above, we have 300 call-out hours. So it's built into our agreement, the board's agreement with Jacobs. And those call-outs are for anything with the collection system that they have to be called out and maintain. So we anticipate an additional $15,000 above that call-out service that is included within our agreement with Jacobs. So I just captured that. And then that's just a budget figure. I know Jacob's report does give you a total year-to-date of what their call-out hours are in their report. So if anyone wants to know where we're at year-to-date, that just kind of gives us an idea. But of course, as you may know, it fluctuates.
Right.
Maybe we won't have any call-out hours.
Do you know what page that's on?
In their report.
Do we typically go over, I mean, like you said, it can fluctuate, but 15,000 is sort of a.
Yeah, so you can see, we have the collection system operations and maintenance that's on.
Well, the report's a little different these days, but
Yeah.
it's still very nice, so, yeah.
And it's got 3 for the month of November.
Oh, okay.
3 for the month of November.
3 call-outs to residential rentals, yeah, that's the big one that goes through those.
Oh, on the very last page, the financial report,
Yeah.
it shows what we had for 2022 and repair hours residential grinder pumps for 2023. Year to date, 198.25. That's on the Jacobs monthly report they show us. But you can see that last year we had 679.
Hmm.
So. Okay.
So if you go back to page 2, the 874, the proposed, how does that compare to a year ago?
Last year was like 650 something or 6.
You can look at your revenue expenditure report that I provided, and that's gonna anticipate we have one more billing yet in this current year, so I'll tell you. You really have to drop out some of that loan out of there.
Right.
So, but if we just focus on the operations and maintenance fees.
Yeah.
Our estimated operations and maintenance fees, according to that revenue expenditure report that I provided, and this is our budget, it shows what our budget is, 620,902 is what we estimate for this year. We are gonna hit that mark. So it's approximately $57,000 more than last year, than the current year that we're in, the proposed budget.
I just want to make sure we're taking the aggressive rate, or the aggressive approach.
Yeah.
Planning for more than trying to, skim the budget. So
Yeah.
I think you did a nice job with that.
So if we go to the very last page, this is where it gets a little difficult, because on page 6 of the budget, I try to capture the grant application. So the Leelanau Township Utilities Authority, I just did a little statement there, is committed to maintaining its infrastructure for the fiscal year 2024 through 2025. A comprehensive capital improvement plan has been developed to address crucial needs to our treatment plant and collection system. Recognizing the financial challenges, the Village of Northport has proactively sought external funding through a grant application on behalf of the NLTUA. And then I captured what the grant is. The grant application is to supplement the funding for the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, over the next 4 years. The type of grant that was applied for, and correct me, I don't know, is the Financial Distress Cities Grant. I did that correct, okay.
Cities, villages, and townships.
Cities,
But
villages,
yes,
and
that's-
townships,
you
okay.
got it right.
Okay. We submitted that on December 8th. The grant amount was for $454,357. Key projects covered in the grant is the main lift station to the treatment plant, force main cleaning, main lift station wet well relining, generator for the Northport Point Road main lift station. And then I captured the details of those expenses in that grant application. Because for one, we do have one amount that is slightly higher that was anticipated from Don Lund's rate study. Don Lund's rate study for the cleaning from the main lift station to the treatment plant was $107,000. For the grant application, we also know that is just, $107,000 is just for cleaning. And there were discussions with the treatment plant operators and the superintendent going into the grant application that we're aware that the board may want to make modifications to that system to access the actual pressurized main. And Chris can elaborate, or Justin, on that. But so the amount that was put into the grant application was $157,000, because not only at this rate, $107,000 again will only get us cleaning. $157,000 will will allow the board to modify the system for the future, so we can get a camera in there, they can get valves in there.
Those are the discussions we had like 3 or 4 months ago, right?
Yeah.
About when we discovered it was PVC versus metal and
Yeah.
those type of things, okay.
Didn't leave us much for access for it.
Those ARVs were they called or something like that, or, yeah.
It's very good. You know your sewer.
Wow.
And the reason why I bring that up is because this draft budget could change depending on the grant application, if we have success with that. And at this time, with the loan from the village, we are looking at, we'll have the funding to clean that main. If we are successful at, capturing this grant, then you may want to not only clean that, but also modify and make the changes to the system, because that has been captured in the grant application.
Now, you might not want to comment on a hypothetical, but we don't get asked. We got asked to us by the township residents. So if we're successful in getting the grant, will that change the rate increases that we put out there? My initial answer was that no, because these are for projects orientated type of investments. But just anticipate the question. Again, you don't want to speculate on a hypothetical because you don't know if you're going to get $1 or you're going to get all of it.
Right.
So if you want to comment.
I would agree with that analysis. What it might do, if anything, would be to flatten out the need for future rate increases. Because the narrative that we presented to the grant funder was that this was essentially to fund the projects in the first year. We would not have the dollars from the increase. So,
That's right. That's right. We talked about that.
Yeah, the fact we were using loans to try to finance those as well, which put some pressure on the village. That's actually what put us into the categories regarding that qualifies for the distressed financial nature. The amount of distress that the sewer itself causes to the village is separate financial status.
Thank you.
I wouldn't see it as reducing rates at all.
Okay.
So I just went through and captured some of the line items that are in that grant. I'm not done with page 6, but we are close. I just wanted to walk over that with the board, walk through this with the board, and get your comments. But I think it's going to be helpful to have these details in there. And
We're just for our own line of sight.
yeah,
You've done a nice job of detailing this out so that we got to be thinking of this. With the grant or not the grant, there's still a reality.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hopeful that it'll be helpful for the board going forward when we do hear news on the grant. Then it helps us just to go back to what was outlined in the CIP, from Utility Financial Solutions, which is $107,000 to complete the cleaning.
Yeah.
And there is there's a purchase of a mixer, Landia mixer, and I'm going to capture what I'll do for the board. You're welcome to pass this on to your boards, but I would like to spend a little more time just capturing exactly what's in that grant and exactly what's projected according to the utility rate study that we have. Because then that's going to give you, hey, if we're successful, these are our plans here. We can now move forward with these at these rates, at these expenses. And if we're not, we're going forward and we're going to continue to follow the CIP that we gave Dawn Lawn and we'll capture for the current year. So, okay.
And you or Jim, we anticipate hearing back from the grant when?
End of March.
Yeah, I thought that was a quick turnaround.
Yes, very quick. End of March.
Any questions?
Oh, nice job.
Not really.
Very good.
I mean, the level of detail is much appreciated.
So the only, major adjustment will just be that 874 will be adjusted a little bit.
That will be,
lower.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
But on the last page where it talks about the 703 expenses, that won't change with the,
The expenses won't change the revenues,
Okay.
though.
but we'll still
Yeah.
have a contingency there.
So my quick math was, on the expenses side, probably increasing it about 9.2% versus a year ago. You're comfortable with that?
Mhm.
I mean, it's obviously far less than the rate of inflation, so
Right.
we seem to be aggressive on that, which is good.
We'll play a little catch up.
All right, any questions on the draft budget? When do we officially have to accept it?
We have to adopt it by the end of our year, so February.
Okay.
But,
So we have time.
So
if I can get that, I can get this last page adjusted. It shouldn't take me very long.
Okay.
And then I'll mail it to the chairs here, village and townships, so then you can disperse it. It's just informational, as you just read in our rules and regulations for your boards.
But I can include it in like my NLTUA report
Yeah.
that
Yep.
we're working on the draft budget and just gives them, here's where we're at, and numbers may
outline.
change slightly, but.
Yeah.
Other questions? Chris, you anything?
Nope.
Appreciate it. Jim? Good? Yeah, good.
Lines are pretty well.
All right. Not seeing anything else to discuss here. Want to open up the public comments? Seeing no public comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see here.
Thank you. So, and thank you, Joni, for putting this together. Thank you. Full disclosure, I did work for Jacobs, then CH2M Hill, and then Jacobs bought CH2M Hill. But I was on the DOD side, Department of Defense. So my client was the Air Force, and we did a lot of environmental work at Air Force bases. So I have some background in just budgets and building budgets. So anyway, I did look through what Jacobs presented, and it's just, I don't know, it didn't appear based on their document whether, we had 300 hours of Jacobs time budgeted for the year and currently use 514. And then same with the repairs spent, we had a limit of 8,000, we spent to date this fiscal year 30,000. So I was just wondering if that was a habit to lowball this, or why not capture the cost from the previous year and build what I would consider a more realistic budget going forward. So that's just one observation. I do, yeah, and I guess these expenditures, I was just kind of curious, these contractual costs, are these based on a current contract we have with Jacobs? So that's real cost. And then the utilities, that's based on last year's budget.
Yes,
So do we
that's been
put
adjusted.
an accelerator or anything in there to roll that up by 4% or inflation when we do the utilities? Okay. And is there any thought, we lost the windmill, and we do know this system is going to be in operation for a long time. And we do have currently about 75,000 in electrical costs per year. I imagine that will just go up. Finding a way, whether more solar or more sustainability, maybe through a grant, looking at our long-term costs and how you can control those better, because that's all you can do in O&M. You pick something like postage, I ask for electronic delivery of my bill. I don't need the paper, and I still get the paper as well. So that's kind of doubling down. If there's a way we could revisit that. Some of this is small things, but if you're operating for 20 years, it'll add up. So I would just go through there really and find ways to either get more money, cost savings, and plan down the road for grants or whatever to reduce our long-term costs. Because, it gets all crazy after a while. And already it's the blowback's gonna be pretty big here. And so it's always good to tell people, the public, all these things you're doing for cost saving measures, you're just not, billing them when they have a problem. And that's kind of what people perceive the federal government. We need another battleship. Let's raise taxes, how do we save them? Anyway, I guess that's it.
Thank you. Any other public comments on the Zoom?
Nice report, Tony. I just wanted to comment about that as well.
Thank you. All right, member comments, Mr. Chris?
No, there was something I was gonna say earlier, but then I don't know.
Jim?
Well, I had the same reaction as this gentleman. I didn't know whether the unusual things were, one time or this was a pattern. So I think that's a good question.
If I may.
Yeah, sure.
So Jacobs, I did refer to Jacobs, they gave us projections for what they anticipate for expenses. So this was plugged into our CIP, and that is something that we do in our budget every year. We take their projections, they look at the treatment plant and the collection system, they say, hey, this is what we're gonna purchase, this is what we anticipate. And in last year's budget, we did have some capital expenses that we budgeted for what Jacobs had in their budget. And those items that they captured in their monthly report, anything over their budget, we get billed directly for.
So anything over the 300 hours is just paid out at an hourly rate
Yes, and monthly.
on a monthly.
And for expenses as far as equipment. Does that make sense?
What kind of, except it was the 300 hours, was that something that was fixed initially in the contract and it's just
It's just
tended
carried
to be
on.
more than what they originally anticipated?
Yes, as we just discussed, it's under 200 currently right now. The year before it was 679. Years ago, our original contract was 200 hours. The board decided to adjust the call out hours to 300. They felt that was more in line with where we were being billed. And then as you can see, it's definitely gone up and down over the years. We've had more and less. And that is certainly a negotiation piece that this board is entitled to do with our agreement. It has been signed. We agreed upon that in October. Certainly can be revisited anytime if you feel that 300 hours is too many hours. You can reduce it. Or you can.
Excuse me, that wasn't my point. My point was we already spent 500 hours. That's what we need to capture in next year's budget, our actual expenditures, not what's in the contract. So you're always building a budget based on actuals.
Right, so like this year's budget should account for an extra $30,000.
Yeah, for expenses and then the hourly rate.
Rather
So
than-
it's just so there's no surprises. So you're coming out at the end of the day and it looks like you manage your budget rather than, why did it go?
So I can tell you that on the expense side for equipment, that was captured, hourlies was not. So that is certainly something that we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got, last year we had 600 hours. This year we're at 200 and something.
192.
Was the year before low also, or
Well,
was the 600 hours an aberration, or is that?
No, so
Chris,
it says total repair hours year to date. Is that for 2023 or our fiscal year? Because again, because it
For
says,
2023.
it says we're at 512 hours, 514. It's like third from the bottom.
Right.
So right now we're 214 hours over our time.
Contract, yeah.
Whereas last year, if we had 300 hours budgeted, we ended up about 380 hours over.
Yeah, I apologize. I was looking at just the grinder pump year to date when I originally
No,
just flashed
you're
at
saying-
this. Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah, make
Yeah.
it realistic.
Yeah, if we would like for Jacobs to align with where we're at actually, this board can do that. and it's through our agreement. If you wanna increase those call-out hours to $500, I think is 500 hours, you can do that. But years ago, and I'll just explain how we got to where we're at, it used to be, we had the 200 hours built in, or the 300 hours built into our agreement, and at the end of the year, we would get this, reconciliation. Okay, here's where we're at, and there was a bill for like $40,000. And the board said, oh gosh, this, we did that for so many years, and then that was just like, that was not, doable for us as far as budgeting. And so we went with the 300 hours, and then every month, Jacobs bills us for any hours over the 300 hours. And that's where we're at. I understand what Mr. McLeod is saying. And if this board would like to increase those call-out hours based on knowing that we average, the 700 or 500, wherever we're at today, you certainly can do that.
Yeah, do we get a better rate if we prepay? I guess that's, well, because if it's contracted in a certain hours versus the call-out hourly rate, there may be a cost difference there.
To be totally honest with you, I don't run the finance.
Sure,
side of that.
but that's
So
something we
I
can
don't wanna
find out.
mention any-
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, we can get an answer for you, I just am not privy.
And again, there's two issues, the one, the contract with Jacobs, and the other one, your budget. And I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
I get what
capture
you're
costs in the budget.
Yeah.
And what we might want to do too is just, if you may already be doing it, but because it's so volatile up and down, maybe use three-year averages, 5-year averages, whatever, and that way we have some baseline on what we think it might come in, because it's a guess. I mean, it's clearly a guess, but at least we have backup on why we guess that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the consideration is, the age of everything, so
Right.
I'd like to know too, what our percentage of call-outs are within, outside the village. Because everything on the force main is grant funds, and that's our biggest call-out issues. And I don't know right offhand what that percentage is, which,
Well, it's actually detailed in there, because that's the number I quoted.
is it, okay, I missed it, so my bad,
Okay.
but,
For January's meeting, I can come back with the help of Jacobs with an annual, we can have a little sheet that says this is how many hours we had. Obviously, we've got 2 years here, we'll gather a couple more years, and the board can look at that.
Yeah.
We can have some discussions.
Whatever data you guys want, I
Yeah.
can put it together.
At our meeting in January.
Because we did just renew the contract, right, a month or 2 months ago, 2 months ago. So, for this year, maybe we just adjust the budget, and then next year we look at increasing the hours and kind of see how it plays out.
Jim, anything else, Jim?
No.
Chris?
I've said enough.
I'm good. Again, just a compliment to Joni, who put you through the ringer the last couple months. And you kept your head above water, and we do appreciate the level of detail that helps us make more informed decisions versus this is what we did last year. Okay, thank you.
Definitely, thanks.
Without any further member comments,
Motion to adjourn?
motion adjourned, accepted, seconded, all those in favor?
I.
I know it is. I did. That's nice. That's loud.
It wouldn't look good on you.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if
Oh, no, 10:30.
Oh,
It should touch you.
I thought it was one of those goofy watches that
I was
goes
like,
backwards.
oh my goodness,
Yeah,
that-
but,
a friend of mine's got a clock like that, but
Yeah.
it's like,
No, I know, I've got.
That's pretty good taste to
okay,
it.
no, but it's a challenge, and I'll catch up with you, okay.
Golfers or no? Just your-
Nah, just for one.
We use for golfers.
FootJoy, just because they give me free pairs every year. I got like 8 pair of golf shoes. Like 11.
Okay,
So everybody's looking. We got some.
Are you showing up today, Bob?
Yeah, I'll head over there.
You got lots of golf shoes, at least you don't lose them like I did.
No, you're missing some?
No, last year we had a really nice day and I wanted to go play golf and I couldn't find my damn golf shoes.
Oh, no.
That's no
So I
good.
bought a new pair and then I found.
There we go. Yeah, we like to talk.
That's even more frustrating than losing them.
I can check with her.